Welcome to this Down and Dance video tutorial. Today I'm joined by Asuka Maruo, who's a first soloist at the Croatian National Theatre. She's going to be showing us the proper placement of the hips in classical ballet and showing us how much that can benefit classical technique. She's also going to show us some exercises that she does that helps increase the strength to sustain proper hip placement. Let's start by taking a look at what correct hip placement actually means. I'm sure you already know about keeping your shoulders and your hips in alignment, but it is not uncommon for dancers to forget about the way that this should look from the side. It is very important that we feel length in the front of the hips, whilst maintaining a neutral spine. This means that the pelvis should not be either arched backwards or tucked forwards, as Asuka is demonstrating now. Feel as though your body is long and pulled up out of the hips, whilst maintaining that hip and shoulder square. Let's now take a look at how that translates into the bar work. Remember that classical technique is progressional, and the way you place yourself at the bar will define your ability in the center. Starting with the plies, notice how Asuka keeps her hips well placed throughout the exercise. Plies are a dancer's first opportunity to find their ideal placement, and getting it right here will help so much with the rest of class. Asuka engages her inner core muscles and lower glute muscles to maintain a secure pelvis and avoid distorting her posture. This same principle applies to every position in this exercise and forms the base of your technique for the rest of class. It can be particularly difficult to find this correct posture in fourth position, but it is very important to feel that your hips are in alignment here, which will help with things like pirouettes later on in class. You can see here how Asuka doesn't let her hips rock backwards during the forward port de bras, which is an essential part of developing core strength. This general core stability is what allows Asuka to be so free with her upper body, while staying strong on her legs. An important tip for grand plie is to resist your heels coming off the floor as much as possible on the way down, and to put them back down again as soon as possible on the way back up, which helps to create a softer and deeper plie to benefit your jumps. Balancing after exercises at the bar is how Asuka checks that she is well placed and on her leg. Now applying the same principle to tendus, watch how Asuka keeps her pelvis strong and in alignment throughout the exercise. Not forgetting, of course, to work her feet in the way we discussed in our last video. She continues to feel length in her waist pulling up out of her hips from the top of her head. Balancing in coup de pied after tendus forces you to find your balance early on at bar, helping you with the more difficult balances later on. With jetés, as the leg starts to come off the floor to hit a 45-degree angle, it is important to keep your core strong to stay well placed. This can be particularly difficult to the back. Being able to isolate the legs from the hips here and pushing for fast footwork without distorting your posture will improve your battery and pitti allegro. You should always find your balance in passe during the bar, as this will help you to quickly find the same position when you need it during the center. Rond de jambe is the exercise where keeping good form starts to get tricky. The tendency here is to allow the hips to sway from side to side as the working leg circles, and it's very important that you fight against that. Pulling up out of your waist will free up space in your hips and allow you to work on rotating your legs from inside the hip joint. That applies to rond de jambe à terre, at 45 degrees, and grand rond de jambe. With fondue, you can really see how strong Asuka's core placement is. Maintaining her correct form here ensures she is working all of the correct muscles in this exercise and makes her so stable in the center. As you watch the exercise in reverse, pay attention to how well Asuka coordinates her two legs together and her legs with her arms, ensuring each point reaches its extremity at the same time. Fondue is the perfect exercise to work on coordination. Again, she balances after the exercise to check her placement. Adage at the bar is the first time in class where we really start trying to put the leg higher than 45 degrees. By now, you should be feeling well placed on your hips, meaning you should have found your balance. Some teachers will say that it's okay to allow your hips to tilt slightly here, to the side and to the back, to give your leg space to be lifted higher. What is important is that you stay as pulled up as possible and avoid arching or tucking your spine as much as you can so that you feel high in your supporting hip. The more you work on good hip placement, the more it will form part of your muscle memory, and by Grand Batman, your hips should be pretty well trained. Just make sure that you keep your core strong as you put force into throwing your leg up to avoid distorting your posture. Now check out what Asuka's excellent form enables her to do in the center. Being pulled up out of her hips and lengthening her extremities from her center as much as possible is what creates Asuka's incredibly long, beautiful line. Asuka's super strong core and great placement makes her an excellent partner and enables her to pull off some really cool tricks. Finally, let's take a look at which exercises Asuka does to help her secure her hip placement. The plank is one of the most beneficial exercises out there for increasing core strength. Be sure to hold your stomach in so that you're working the deeper muscles of your abdomen, which will stop you from arching your back and prevent injury. You must also make sure that your shoulders and hips are in a line. The shoulder bridge is another great one for core strength. Again, hold your stomach in and engage those deep ab muscles. Keeping them engaged, think about using your glutes to slowly lift your hips up until your knees, hips and shoulders are all in a line. You should feel as though you are rolling through the spine one vertebrae at a time. Be very careful not to let your knees sway outwards. The hip flexor stretch is a great one for increasing the mobility and range of your hips. This stretch is not about trying to go as deep as you can into the stretch, as in fact that can be dangerous. Instead, maintain good form with a long spine and gently move forward until you feel a deep stretch of the hip flexor and psoas. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you found it useful. Special thanks go to Asuka Maruo for for agreeing to be in the video, as well as her partner Takuya Sumitomo, both of whom appear by kind permission of the Director of Ballet at the Croatian National Theatre. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and see you next time.